And now it's time to start all over again. I don't have a rolling pin apparently, so I had to use my spray bottle to roll it out. So this time I'm going to try a different technique. I'm going to put the clay directly onto the wood, which is what I should have done in the first place. So I'm just going to put a bit of water on there to help the clay to stick, and I'm going to coat the whole top with a layer, and I'm leaving a space there for the hinges. And I'm just making the little drips separately, and again directly onto the box. So that's why I have. It does need a bit of fixing, but that's... Now it's time to move on to Bib's box. Now Bibs loves rainbows. His favourite colours are rainbow, gold and silver, in that order. So I'm making a rainbow here with the technique that I kind of stole from that Mariah video where she baked the cake with the rainbow icing. So I'm just making some strips and I'm going to bend that into a rainbow shape, and then I think this is my second attempt actually. And then just trim off the edges, and I haven't actually got a plan for any of these boxes really, so I'm going to have a look at where I can pop this rainbow. So originally I was going to put a big rainbow on the top and then put some clouds underneath it. In the end I decided not to do that, so I went for a simpler approach. Stick it on the back and mark off where the hinges were, and that's going to go there. So a little bit of water in there again to help it stick. Biscuit, please stop. And trim off the edges. And now I'm going to pop his nickname on there because he likes being called Bibs. When he was a baby I used to speak to him and his brother in French, and so he was Le Bébé, which turned into Bibes, which turned into Bibs. So that's how we got his nickname. He's actually, he was 7 when I gave him this. I actually made this last summer. So it's taken me that long. I just hate doing voiceovers. That's why it's probably been sitting on my hard drive for the last more than 6 months. Okay, so for the sides I'm going to do, it's going to be like a sky theme. So we've got the rainbow at the back, and we're going to have clouds on the sides. So I'm making cloud out some circles of clay and then just sort of joining them together and then using some water to smooth it out. And then these are going to get stuck onto the sides. And I'm making another cloud here for the other side. Do we really need to see this? We've seen it once already. I'm just kind of improving this whole thing. I have a really bad habit of like not planning things out properly and not referring back to tutorials. I just sort of look at them once and then do the project the next day without referring back to it, and then suddenly I'm like, oh wait, I'm doing this all wrong. I'm very lazy and I'm very bad at focusing. Anyway, I'm making a little sun to pop out from behind the clouds here. Okay, we are back to tinies, and this time I'm going to pop a nice thick layer of paint on there just to help seal any gaps and cracks, and I've sanded off and levelled the top so it looks a lot nicer. It's definitely better than the previous version, so for anyone out there who's as stupid as I am, don't use cling film. Just mould it directly into the box. I'm doing the same thing here with the rainbows, putting a nice thick coat to help seal everything in and fill up any gaps and cracks in there. And that's what it looks like. Oh, a lot of thick paint. And I've mixed up some cerulean paint with white, and I'm going to use that to create a nice sort of sky blue theme. Finally get some colour. Again, just popping some more colour. I don't think I actually put more colour in this. I think it's just the light adjustments made it look more saturated. And that's the old bit of clay that we use in Tiny's box. So I'm mixing up some more pink lit. Again, sorry if this triggers you. And instead of doing pink for the actual base, I'm going to do pink for the icing, because like I said, this pink just made me think so much of pink buttercream. There you go. Yes, I'm mixing paint, and now I'm painting the icing, so I really like the pink of this colour. It did look more saturated in real life. I think the colours kind of washed out in the video. Now I'm painting the drips. I'm just doing a very messy job, and oh, we're right, so the cake's already chocolate. The cake is chocolate. Tiny did say she specifically wanted a chocolate cake for her box, so I just went for a nice, what was that? Burnt umber. And I'm using a dotting tool. I did get some use out of my dotting tool, and now I'm painting a rainbow. I later had to repaint this because I got some pearl medium, but I thought it was like pearl varnish, and I painted over it and I was like, oh my gosh, I've just turned half the rainbow white. And I'm using Sharpies here because why not? And now I'm making sprinkles. So I made these little clay worms, and I'm just snipping them into sort of sprinkle sizes and then painting them in pastel colours. So here are my final decorations. To make the cinnamon rings, I sort of made the cinnamon shape, painted it in the sort of pastry colour, and then just put a load of brown paint on the top, smeared it in, and then wiped off the excess, and that's how I sort of got the cinnamon filling. I made a chocolate biscuit here. I don't like this, it's meant to be like a lolly, but it just looks terrible. And it's a ready-made rainbow decoration. A biscuit I made. I had to cut that shape out manually, and then I've got the little sprinkles there. and there's some whipped cream and a cherry which I made and glued on earlier. I didn't film most of this section obviously, and so now I'm deciding how I'm going to arrange this because, as I said before, I have no plan. I improv all the way. So the rainbow, oh well, I've decided to stick with the rainbow right there. You'll go in there, rainbow. And now we're gluing down the other pieces. So we've got the chocolate biscuit, a little biscuit. I think I added a bit more shading to that biscuit afterwards. The cinnamon ring looks out of place. Anything goes. Hey, look, she was 6 when I gave this to her. Actually, no, she was still 5. She was still 5. She was not fussy. And surprisingly, that cherry actually managed to last several months before she broke it off. And in the end, the hinges also broke off because, like I said, I filled the hinges with paint. I didn't mark where the screws were meant to go properly. And so when I did try to screw it back in, I don't think it went into the original holes. So here's the sprinkles. I'm just sticking them sort of anyhow. And I've got some gems here as well to give it a little bit more bling. And that's Tiny's box finished. Okay, so for the inside I just did a slightly more saturated pink. And there's the back. And there's those hinges of doom. So yes, the hinges are currently still broken. I don't know how to fix them. And here's Bibbs. Now Bibbs wanted plants. He wanted a plant theme. And I really couldn't think of how to actually do a plant theme in a sky theme. But you'll see what I came up with in a moment. So for the time being I decided to just sort of stick some stickers and embellishments on there. And then I remembered my go-to, twine and tissue paper leaves. And it's random, it's weird, but he wanted plants and I wanted to make sure he got plants. I'm not really sure why, because his favourite thing is not plants, his favourite thing is buses. But for some reason he was adamant that he wanted plants on his box. So we're making some leaves out of tissue paper, and I'm not trying to do anything particularly sophisticated, it's very, very simple leaf shape. And then we'll just glue those onto the vine. So we've got some sort of climbing plants in the sky, maybe it's Jack and the Beanstalk kind of theme, with a button and a bus and a lolly and a donut. Here are the final books. I had to blur out the chipmunks because it's got his real name on there. And I put some lip paint on some of these shapes. You can't really see all that much, but you can see lip paint does actually glow really well even in ambient light. So here's the side, which has got mostly stars buttons. I've got a little glow in the dark planet. There's the little stripes on the planet glow. And the inside of that one is silver. Let's see the inside. There you go. So that's the chipmunks box. I did do a Rhine on the top originally, but I ended up putting too many stars, so it's lost. So that's what Beb's one looks like at the end. I coated everything with sealant, so I think I did satin pasta coat on here, and I put a bit of gloss varnish on some of the things, but the gloss varnish is very sticky and it attracts a lot of dust. So yeah, there was gloss varnish on the rainbow, and I put pearl medium on the clouds there, and that's the final rainbow at the back. And you've got the sun and got another little pearly cloud, and inside I painted that a nice bright yellow. Go, so that's his one, and the pièce de résistance, that's Tiny's one. I'm proudest of this one. I mean, the design isn't the best, but this is probably like the most advanced thing I've ever done in terms of craft projects. So I'm really happy with the way this one came out. It's definitely the most advanced of the three. I've had a bit of gloss varnish onto that to seal everything in, and I put some matte varnish on the biscuits there. I added a bit more shading to that biscuit afterwards, and added a gem. Tiny really wanted that gem on there. So that's what it looks like. But definitely the third time was the charm. And those hinges, oh those hinges. And for the inside I just painted that a more saturated pink. So just be careful with gloss varnish because it does get really tacky. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.